Hello and welcome to my final video review of my Minecraft education lesson, exploring multiples and factors with immersive technology and game-based learning. Levels 1 through 3 of this game will focus on covering math content standard, operations and algebraic thinking for 4th grade, gaining familiarity with factors and multiples. Level 1, Factors, the Factor Quest. Hello and welcome to my Minecraft Education Community Level 1 game. This is a 4th grade math game. It covers grade 4 operations and algebraic thinking, specifically factors and multiples. Okay, so it takes place in a classroom world setting. It was a game that already existed, a lesson that already existed. It was a lesson on digital citizenship. So what I did is I basically made a copy of that one and I modified it to include some math content. Okay, so starts off with, the player starts off looking at the math teacher, an NPC math teacher, and you click on it, and the math teacher will give the player the directions for the level 1. So it says, welcome to Factor Fun. Please walk around the classroom and answer 3 questions about factors. If you need help, some of the students can help you. With each correct answer, you will be given a letter to form a 3-letter code. Okay. It says, when you are finished answering all 3 questions, return to me and click on the correct code to transport you to level 2. Okay, so player can walk around. First, there's a little review, a little board that says, what are factors? Factors of a number. These are whole numbers that divide evenly into another number without leaving a remainder. Okay, so the very first thing the player is going to have to do is, these are the NPC students. As you can see on the top, it says, do you want to review factors? So for students that are struggling and need a little bit more support, they can click on the NPC, and it says it's okay if you forgot what a factor is. Click on the link below to review what a factor is. And so the student would click on this, and that would take them to a YouTube video tutorial on factors. So we have and there's different videos. So a couple different students, NPC students, have this option. So any student that says, and if there's an NPC student with nothing on the board, that's just basically just an NPC student, doesn't really give the player any directions or anything. So the very first task is to look for question 1, and there's question right here. So there's another example of a helper right there. So let's walk a little closer to it. Helper robot, click on it, and it says click below to learn more about factors. Okay, and then student would click on this little button right here, and that would take them to a different video tutorial. Okay, so we'll start off by answering the questions first. Okay, so here's question 1. Mateo. It says name all the factors for the number 12. Okay, so students can work out this problem on a separate piece of paper, and then there's 4 answer choices. When a student makes an incorrect choice, it says incorrect, try again. So then the student would make another attempt. And then the correct answer is, factors for 12 are 1, 2, 3, 4, 6, and 12. So when the student answers that, it says correct. Your first letter for your code is D. Okay, so now student can look for question 2. There's question 2 right there. And it's Marcy, NPC student Marcy. Students are instructed, or the players are instructed, to name all the factors for the number 15. So once again, just like in the other example, when the student answers incorrectly, it says incorrect, please try again. So player would try again. So all the factors for 15 are 1, 3, 5, and 15. Okay, and it says correct, your second letter for your code is M. So player would have to be writing this down on a separate piece of paper. Okay, so now the player, and then these are just some posters that were already there on digital citizenship. Okay, so now this player would have to go and look for question number 3 by looking at the boards in front of the students, the student NPCs. Okay, we're looking for question number 3, because right now we have the first 2 codes, which are the first 2 letters of the code. Okay, and there's question number 3 right there. So we click on the student NPC, Susie. Name all the factors of the number 20. Okay, and once again, if they make an incorrect choice, it says incorrect, try again, so the player can try again. Okay. So all the factors would be this one. Oops. Incorrect choice again. Okay, so 1, 2, 4, 5, 3 was not a factor. So here we go. And there it is. Your third letter for your code is Y. Okay, so now the player has all 3 letters for the code. So now they have to return back to the teacher NPC. Okay. There we go. There's the teacher NPC. Okay. And click on that. And it says, when you are finished answering all 3 questions, return to me and click on the correct code. Okay. So if they got the code, if they're just guessing and they got the code incorrect, click on that. Wrong code, try again. Okay. So once again, the correct code, if they answered all 3 questions correctly, would be DMY, and it'll teleport them to level 2. And there we are. Now they are on level 2. Okay, so this level 1 game is a really effective way to introduce and then, well, not introduce, but reinforce the concept of factors for 4th grade students. Okay, because students won't just be memorizing definitions, they're actively applying their knowledge to solve puzzles, and then that will help them advance in the game. Okay, the way level 1 promotes problem-solving skills is that the students have to independently seek information, and they have to overcome challenges. Each question is a challenge that they have to answer. Okay, they also have to analyze information and that's given by each of the student NPCs, and then they have to apply their understanding of factors. So level 1's a really engaging and fun way for students to review factors. Okay, and then when they are done, it leaves them on level 2. Level 2, Multiples Pathway. Okay, welcome to my Community Level 2 video review. Okay, so here's where the player will begin level 2. Okay, and once again, this game, all 3 levels of this game focus on grade 4 operations and algebraic thinking. It's a math game. Okay, so that standard is gaining familiarity with factors and multiples. So level 2 will be focusing on mostly multiples. Okay, so this player begins. We start off. Okay, so the NPC math teacher will give them the directions for level 2. Welcome to level 2. Here you will follow the blue path to get to the next level. There are different path options. Be sure to only follow the path if the number located on the path is a multiple of 8. If you correctly followed only multiples of 8, you will get to the correct location and be transported to the final level. So the goal of level 2 is to get to the correct tree that has an NPC, another math teacher NPC, and that NPC math teacher will give them the option to be teleported to the last and final level. Okay, and then also, if the student needs a little bit of review on what a multiple is, I have embedded here a link where they can click and it'll take them to a video, a YouTube video tutorial on multiples. Okay, so the player will start off by following the path, so the little board that's in front of the blue pathway, that leads them in the direction. Okay, so the 8 is a multiple of 8, 16 is also a multiple of 8. Okay, so here they have 2 options. They can either click down, go down in this pathway, or they can continue here. So if they incorrectly chose 130, 130 is not a multiple of 8, they would keep going on this path. Okay, and we do have some that are multiples of 8 and some that are not in this pathway, but this would be the incorrect path for the player to choose. Okay, so if they click here and they're navigating down this pathway, okay, these are not multiples of 8. Many of these, 92 is not a multiple of 8. 104 is a multiple of 8, to kind of throw them off, but they would be checking these. They can be dividing to see if they actually do divide evenly by 8, in which case it would be a multiple of 8. So they can be doing all of this problem solving as they are continuing along in the game in the path. Okay, so it's not just walking down the path, but they also have to be checking to ensure that those are in fact multiples of 8 by doing the division. Okay, if they evenly divide by 8, then they are in fact multiples of 8. Okay, so 115 is also not a multiple of 8. Okay, but let's just say they incorrectly landed here and they follow the pathway. There's a math NPC teacher here. Okay, they click on it and the message they're given is, sorry, try again. Not all the numbers on this path were multiples of 8. Click below to try again. Okay, so then they click on try again and it teleports them back to the starting point. Okay, so now they can go and try a different pathway. So when they get to this part of it, okay, 130 is where they incorrectly chose the first time. So here they are, they can go down. Okay, and they'll see 128 is in fact a multiple of 8, so they can keep going down. Oops, 120 was also a multiple of 8, so they are going down the correct path. It's a little challenging, also just navigating with the buttons and the keyboard. 72, also a multiple of 8, so they get to this part of the path, and they are given two options. They can either go down in this direction. 64 is a multiple of 8, so that would be the correct choice for them. Or if they choose to go in this direction, 54 is not a multiple of 8. That would lead them into the wrong pathway. So we're going to go down the correct pathway. These are all, and again, they can be doing this division. They can be checking their multiples of 8 by either skip counting. They can write them down, but they are problem solving as they are continuing along this path. Okay, 96 is a multiple of 8. 80 is a multiple as well. So they're continuing along the correct path. All of these are multiples. So then it leads them to, and as you can see here, that would have been the incorrect path choice right there. That NPC that is located right here would have told them that they need to try again. Okay, so now we are on the correct pathway. They are coming to the last teacher NPC, and it says, congratulations, you made it to the end of level 2. Please click below to be teleported to the final level. So they click here, and now they are on level 3, which would be the last and final level of this math game. So this level promotes problem solving skills because they are presented with a path, they have to follow a rule, and they can only step on blocks that are multiples of 8. And that's going to require them to immediately recall or figure out what the multiples of 8 are. They also are required to apply the rule and determine if it fits the rule being, is this pathway, this block, a multiple of 8? And they're going to be required to skip count by 8. They also have to do a little bit of strategic planning and decision making, deciding which path to follow by first solving the problem, looking at the number that's in front of them to determine if it is in fact a multiple of 8. Okay, and so it also promotes problem solving skills because as they're continuing along the pathway or the maze to get to the correct location, they're having to actively apply their knowledge of multiples and then navigate the challenge and then make strategic decisions. Okay, and so the last final level would be level 3. Level 3, Exploring Factor Pairs, Array Architects. Welcome to level 3 of my Minecraft Education math game. In this level, we continue our work with factors. So level 3 takes the exploration of factors to a deeper level. In this hands-on challenge, students are tasked with becoming array architects. They have to use concrete blocks to visually represent factor pairs for the number 12. So the player begins by walking up to the NPC math teacher, and the math teacher gives them their directions. Use any of the blocks to create rectangular arrays with the factor pairs for the number 12. Create at least 2 arrays. When you are done, take a picture of it and add it to your portfolio. Send your exported portfolio to your teacher. She will give you the code to complete your final level. So one of these 3 codes will be if they click on one of these 3 codes, it'll take them to the final level. Or they're in the final level, but it'll take them to the last part of it. Okay, so the first task is to build an array. So for factors for 12, we can build an array, a 3x4 array. So I'm going to turn word builder on to false, I believe, or to true, so we can start interacting and building the first array. So I'm going to click on 3 so I can use the purple concrete blocks, and I'm going to just start building my array. Okay, to represent my first one. Okay, so here's 1, 2, 3. And then we'll do by 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. And then I can just fill it in. is 1, 2, 3, 4 right there. And there's my third row. And then okay. I'll just fill it in like that. 1 there. And then a little closer and 1 there. Okay, so that's my array 1, 2, 3, 4 by 3 right there. And so then I can take a picture of it. So I'm going to grab my camera tool by clicking on number 2. And now I can take a picture of it for my portfolio. Okay. Oops, I clicked the wrong one. So I need the camera, sorry, the camera's number 1, so I'll go ahead and take my picture of it. Okay, and there it is. Okay, so now I'm going to do 2 by 6. So I'm going to click on number 4 so I can grab the green, the lime green concrete. Okay, and I'll make mine over here. And I'll do an array that's 2 by 6. So you have 1. That's 1, 2, 3. Get a better view of it. 4, 5, and 6. Let me double check. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. 4, 5, 6. Okay. I'll just come around and continue. Okay. 1, 2, 3, 4, 6. Okay. So then the student, the player, would be asked to take a picture of it. So I'm going to grab the camera tool by clicking on number 1 for my, okay, and then I'm ready to take my picture by clicking on it. And there we go. Okay, now I will check to see that they're in my portfolio. Okay, I'm going to click on number 2 and bring up my portfolio, and then here is my portfolio. So all I would do is, I can even choose to add a caption if I'd like. I can caption this here. I can call this 3 by 4. I can call this one 2 by 6 array. Okay, and then all I would have to do as the player, export this portfolio, send that to my teacher, and then my teacher would then check my work, and then I would go back to the teacher, the MPC teacher here. I need to turn Word Builder back off, or put it back to false status actually, so I can read the message again. Okay, now that I have the correct code, I believe it was this one, and now it takes me to the end of the game. Okay, and it says you have completed all 3 levels of the factors and multiple reviews game. So we have finished all 3 levels. Okay, so this level isn't just about knowing the numbers, it's about building that understanding concretely. Okay? Students can document their learning by taking a snapshot of their creations and then adding it to their portfolios. This level translates the abstract concept of factor pairs into a visual and interactive experience, so that they can have a more deeper intuitive grasp of how the numbers can be composed. So this level was a really great tool for achieving several learning goals related to factor pairs. It moves beyond rote memorization because it requires students to actively construct their understanding. The act of building the different rectangular arrays for the number 12 visually demonstrates the concept of factor pairs and the commutative property of multiplication. This level also promotes problem-solving skills because students aren't just given the factor pairs, they have to actively experiment with the concrete blocks to discover combinations that form rectangles with an area of 12. It involves trial and error, spatial reasoning, and critical thinking as they manipulate the blocks and analyze the resulting shapes. The requirement to build 2 different arrays adds another layer of complexity because it makes them push beyond the first solution that they find. So they need to analyze the number 12, brainstorm potential factors, and then test these factors by building the arrays. And then when they are required to take the photo and send their portfolio to their teacher, it encourages planning and representation of their mathematical thinking. So overall, all 3 levels of this game transform learning about factors and multiples from a passive exercise into an active problem-solving adventure. So this is a game that can be used by 4th grade teachers teaching factors and multiples so that students can be more engaged and they can enjoy learning factors and multiples, and it will help them reinforce that concept.